My maternal grandparents raised me, 27 female. My parents, Dad 46, Mom 56, are free spirits that didn't want to settle down and raise a child. Whatever, I saw them every few months when they would come by. Eventually they stopped coming. I didn't miss them. My grandmother and grandfather were my parents. I'm getting married in March and my invitations have all gone out. I invited my parents as guests. They're not part of the wedding or anything like that. I wasn't going to invite them, but my grandfather asked me to please let my bio mom be part of my day. About a week ago, I spoke with my bio dad. He wants a +1 on their invitation. I hadn't seen him in years, so I thought maybe they had another kid and hadn't mentioned it. Nope. Apparently he and my mother have a man in his 30s that's part of their relationship. While neither myself nor my fiancé are particularly religious, and I have no objections to polygamous relationships in general, I would prefer not to have to deal with that at my wedding. I told him that he and my mother were invited as a courtesy but had no parental privileges for me to consider. He said that excluding their partner was mean and that he wouldn't have left me with my grandparents if he knew they would raise me to be prejudiced. I have spoken with my grandparents about this, both sets. Nobody knew anything about this, so it seems they were going to use my wedding to introduce this guy to the families. I called him back and I was very firm. I told him that I'd spoken with my wedding coordinator and ensured that no uninvited guests came to my wedding. Since we have the reception at a resort hotel in my city, they have security. I also spoke with the manager and explained that I might have uninvited guests trying to get into my wedding reception. He said that security would escort anyone like that off the property and call the cops if needed. All of this was relayed to my parents. Now they're complaining to everyone. I'm dealing with it by telling everyone who calls me to fight for them exactly why I'm excluding the person they want to bring. I just talked to my mother and she screamed at me for telling people about her private business. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Private business, my butt. They want to parade that specific business at your wedding? Their situation and ask are so out there that I don't even know what to say. Seriously, OP's mom was an almost 30-year-old woman sleeping with a barely legal adult, and they're not taking care of the child? She lost her right to not have people in her business when she tried to intrude on your wedding. And how do they not understand they're not entitled to anything from you? This is all pretty mind-blowingly bad for a 40-plus and a 50-plus-year-old. Ha ha ha, that was my thought also. The mom is only mad because they were definitely going to use the wedding to flaunt their relationship. You can't lose your mind that your private business has been shared while also wanting to parade that same business at someone else's wedding publicly. I'm actually here chuckling to myself at the audacity. Poor OP. Hopefully you can laugh about this later. Ignoring the polyam angle for a moment, it sounds like your parents are trying to upstage your wedding. That's crass all by itself and a legitimate reason to decide you don't want them there. They're not there to celebrate you, they're there to tell people about their latest excitement. So tell them they can send holiday cards to everyone announcing the happy expansion, but your wedding day is about your wedding. I love the "we wouldn't have abandoned you if we knew you were going to be raised like this" line Dad told you. You should totally come back with, "but you did abandon me and these are the consequences." Geez, I'm still not getting over the fact that Dad had you at 19 with a 29-year-old woman. Well, based on the fact that their new man is in his 30s, we can conclude that OP's mom likes her men young. OP, you do not owe your parents anything. They're lucky they're getting an invite at all. Plus, it's your wedding, so even if your decisions were irrational, it's your wedding. You're entitled to make whatever decision you want about that day. My husband, 33, and I, 30 female, have been together for 9 years now. When we first started dating, we both discussed the most important thing to us, traveling. Unfortunately, we just have different ideas of what traveling is. I work remotely, but I make 6 figures a year, so it's worth it. Plus, the benefits are amazing. I get about a month off a year in paid time off, which is almost unheard of in the US. So I usually like to use my PTO to travel the world. My husband works for 2 months and then has the next month off. With every new site, we get to move to another state, and that's his favorite thing. He gets paid a lot less than me, but he says it doesn't matter because he's living the dream. I used to align my vacation days with his month off so we could travel together. This is the first year I deliberately planned my vacation days when he worked. Here's why. During our first year of dating, I wanted to do something small, so we traveled to some of the national parks and had a wonderful time. It was gorgeous, and he loved it just about as much as I did. The next year we decided to visit England. He was insufferable. All he did was complain about everything. It was a nightmare, and every day he'd find something to complain about until eventually I cut the trip short and just took him home. I thought maybe he just didn't like England, so I tried a few different countries over the next 3 years, and he acted like a baby every single time. We went to Italy, Greece, and China, but he hated everything. Finally, I gave up and just told him to plan our next vacation. He took me to Disneyland, his hometown, Las Vegas, and Florida. Nothing outside of the continental US. I never complained about any of his vacations. I went in with an open mind, but always came home feeling cheated out of an experience. I mean, I haven't gotten to enjoy one of my vacations in 5 years, and I feel like I'm missing out. So I scheduled my vacation for January, not one of the months he's off, and have plans to fly to France. I told him this was happening from the start, but I guess he thought I was joking this entire time. Now he's begging me not to go. He told me that he would miss me too much. I told him I just wanted to enjoy a vacation, and besides I was only going to be gone for 2 weeks. I would use up only some of my vacation time in France. I was going to spend the first and last week of my vacation with my husband. He threw a tantrum when I told him I was still going for 2 weeks as my boss had already approved it. He said I might as well stay in France and then called his mother. She called me an hour later to yell at me and I had to explain myself. And now his whole side of the family is arguing with each other about it. Even his mom and dad are fighting about it. I just feel like this whole thing has gotten way too out of control, and I may be the idiot for starting all this family drama. Not the idiot. He called his mother. He called his mother. He's a grown man who's been with you for 9 years and he dobbed on you to his mother. Does he sulk and moan when he doesn't get his own way in other aspects of your life too? I'll admit I find the separate vacations weird, but you told him and told him. Not your fault he shrugged it off. He threw a tantrum and called his mother. That doesn't sound like an adult. Yikes. Every time I hear that I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. My husband never has, and I mean never, told his mother the details of our disagreements. If my mother-in-law called me an hour after we got into a fight to defend him, literally I don't even know what I would do. It's insane. You're certainly not the idiot for starting any family drama, mainly because you aren't the one who called Mommy to tattle. She had no business calling to yell at you. Their family dispute is on your partner's shoulders, not yours. This is a much bigger problem than misaligned vacation expectations, but consider whether this is the right spouse for you. Girl, go enjoy France. I, 26 male, am very protective of my siblings, 19 female, teen male, pre-tween male with special needs, since I had basically raised them even when I was a child myself, and since becoming an adult have become their guardian. This is due to our mother always being away for mommy time, her way of saying going to the club, drinking, then having intimacy with whatever guy she was clinging to, also in and out of prison. My sister, 19, wanted to try and fix her relationship with our mother since, apparently, our mother is getting better and is going through programs. I know this song and dance. She says she's better, and she's really good at acting like it. Someone believes her BS, she gets in their good graces till she can ask for money to get back on her feet, and then, bam, the witch is gone. I warn my sister about all of this because as much as I love my sister, she's too forgiving and gullible. But I also told her she's an adult now and I'm not going to stop her, just be careful. On the day she was to meet up with her, she was too nervous and anxious to go alone, especially after not seeing her for 7 years, and I could see it, so I offered to go with her as support. A very important detail is that my sister has always been a tomboy, but repressed that side when we still live with our mother, since she was very abusive about it and was a huge bully. Since living with me, she's gone full tomboy and is very much masculine presenting. I'm so happy she's comfortable with me and that she can be who she wants. But a lot of people do think she's trans, so that's a sore spot for her since she still identifies as a woman. Well, the second we got into the restaurant and sat down, our mother's first words were, "Oh my God, you're not one of those transgender people, are you?" with a disgusted look on her face. My sister ran out crying. I told my mother she was a soulless witch who didn't deserve her children's love and would die unloved and alone. She called me an idiot and other names while I left. I feel like an idiot because I stooped to her level, but some part of me still thinks she deserved those words. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your mom is old enough to know better, yet she started a moment with her estranged kids with hate and criticism. She is a broken individual. Nothing you or your sister can do will save her from herself, so it's better to protect yourself. I too have a soulless parent and a younger sibling who is more apt to forgive. Support your sibling but keep your own boundaries. Your sis will need to come to their own conclusions based on their own painful experiences. Very heartbreaking, and hopefully your sister now sees the woman for what she truly is. I was this sibling for a very long time. Eventually I had enough and I've been no contact with my dad for almost 2 years. I feel so bad for your sister because I know exactly how it is to have such a person in your life who you keep on thinking will change. They are so good at making you believe them, and it hurts every time they eventually let you down. I wouldn't be surprised if one day your sister cuts all contact with her mom completely of her own accord. Until that day, please be patient with her. Seriously, what a first impression after 7 years. This woman has destroyed everything for you and your siblings, and you had to act like an adult years before you were supposed to. Good on you for being an amazing older brother, and hopefully your sister won't be too hurt by this inevitable situation. I, 20 female, just started working at a new job a few weeks ago. Everything has been smooth sailing with my co-workers, all fun, cool people, until yesterday. For a little context before I get into it, my assistant manager, Sherry, 45 female, has a son, Travis, 19 male. When I first started working and met her, the topic of relationships came up and she asked if I was single. I told her yes, I got out of a long-term relationship this past July and I'm considering jumping back into the dating pool. She told me her son was around my age and that we would probably like each other and asked if I'd be interested. I told her to let me think about it and that I'd get back to her. That was about 6 weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, I decided that going on a couple of first dates or outings with new people couldn't be too bad of an idea, so I told Sherry to let Travis know I was interested if he wanted to meet for coffee or something and test the waters. But I probably wouldn't be free until just after the new year because I'm busy with work and personal and family stuff. She said that sounded fine. And then yesterday happened. Sherry was talking about their kids in the back room with 2 of my other co-workers who are also moms. At some point they were making jokes about spoiling their kids, and Sherry said Travis doesn't even make himself a sandwich, just goes into the kitchen and sits there and pouts because he knows Mama will come to do it for him. I rarely use this term, but I absolutely felt icked out by that. I asked her if she was being serious and she laughed and said yes, he's just a mama's boy. As we were leaving later, I pulled her aside and told her I wasn't interested in going out with her son anymore. After she pressed me about why several times, I admitted that the sandwich thing turned me off and that I would never go out with a man who seems so dependent or unwilling to do things himself. Sherry got upset and told me I'm not a mom and don't know what I'm talking about, and that surely I expect my parents to still do things for me, and stormed off. I'm getting off my break here in a minute, but she hasn't spoken to me all day, and I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong here. Was I the idiot? I guess she's sick of making his sandwiches and is hoping you'll take over that role. It was grossly inappropriate of her to suggest it in the first place, in my opinion. You are not the idiot. But the next time, tell the people who want to make you a blind date with a friend or relative, thanks, but I don't mix work with personal, or thanks, but if things don't work, I don't want to put you in that uncomfortable position. OMG, exactly this. She wants to pass him to the next woman. OP, my only criticism is that you should have said no from the beginning to situations like this. If you'd gone on a date and found him lacking, then I'm sure your colleague would have reacted the same way. Not well. How dare anyone not love her precious baby boy? Oh no, she won't stop this. She'll boss and bully whoever gets with him. They'll never be up to mom's standards. At 20, I assumed people older than me knew better than me. I was shocked to read that a 45-year-old would pull this at work, but now that I'm older than that, I shouldn't be even a little shocked. LOL, don't get your honey where you make your money. Absolutely cracked me up. Hun, you're 20 and still learning about all these things. The assistant manager should have known better, though this situation is on her, but based on what you mentioned about her relationship with her son, her behaviour is wholly unsurprising. Sounds like she struggles with boundaries. You're not totally naive, though, if you had the wisdom to avoid a huge mama's boy. Keep that up for sure, and you'll thank yourself later. Update. Thank you to everyone so far who has provided their feedback. I just got home from work a few minutes ago and have been trying to read through all the comments. answer any questions, or provide clarification. I completely agree with all of you that said I shouldn't have agreed in the first place. That was absolutely my mistake, and I was entirely naive about how things would play out. It seemed totally innocent, no big deal to me, and I'm very much used to older women in my life trying to set me up with their sons. It's not something I've had to confront the past 4 years because I could say I'm taken, but now that I'm single and open to trying to meet new people again, it's not as easy to navigate. I guess I didn't think much of it since I haven't dated anyone new since I was 16, and I still look at these new date situations like I'm still 16. Either way, I'm not mixing work and personal like that ever again. I've learned my lesson. I, 26, recently got married to my wife, 24. We decided for our honeymoon that we would spend a week on my parents' vacation property with a dock and a boat and then drive to the closest port for a cruise. During our stay at the vacation property, there was an issue with the boat. It was pretty minor and I told my dad about it, and he insisted he come over and check it out and fix it. He said he'd be there for a few hours and be out of our hair. I told my wife and she reluctantly agreed because it was his boat that had an issue. He came over and fixed the boat and I felt bad, so I offered to go out with him and grab lunch, my treat. I felt bad that he drove 2 hours during a work week to fix up the boat for us to enjoy, and I wanted to treat him to a few beers and lunch. So we left and we got back after 2 hours. He left and we went back to our honeymoon. The issue is that after the honeymoon she complained that I let him invade our honeymoon and that I even went out with him during our honeymoon. It wasn't an issue since it was his damaged property and he made an effort to help us enjoy our time. I feel like it's no big deal. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He did you all a solid so you all could use the boat. It'd be different if you all went to Bora Bora and he was like, "Surprise, witches!" wearing a straw hat and a pina colada in hand. Your wife needs to get a grip and show some gratitude toward the family she married into. Disagree, you are the idiot. His coming to fix it was nice of him, as is you wanting to thank him, but you could have scheduled to take him out after your honeymoon was over. You took him out to lunch in the middle of your honeymoon. What a terrible idea. Your wife is understandably annoyed about it. Oh my god, how dare OP take a few hours to have lunch with his dad who dropped by to fix his boat for free for OP and his wife to use. Such a terrible idea. This is ridiculous. If I was in OP's wife's position, I would be so grateful that he took a day off work and drove 4 hours round trip to fix the boat we were using for free. You all act like honeymoons are some sort of sacred ritual. I swear, what kind of BS entitlement are we seeing here? Why didn't she just join them and make a day of it? Dude, I'd be re-evaluating my relationship.